All right, in this video, I'm going to really quickly go over the basics of filling out an intake form. Even though most of you have a handle on how to do this, there are still a few problems that we're noticing, common problems that some people are making, some mistakes that people are making. So I just want to clarify exactly how you should be filling this thing out. First and foremost, just to remind everybody that there needs to be a one-to-one match between contacts handled and intake forms completed. So if you take a phone call and nobody answers the phone when you answer, there's nobody there, you still need to record that contact on the intake form. And it's pretty simple to do. You just select phone call, no data, and you submit it. Maybe leave some notes. No one on the line when I answered, something like that. For chats, which is probably when it happens more, it's probably a more common occurrence when you take a chat and nobody's there, just because of the way the chat client is set up this year. You want to make sure that when you take your chat, that you leave chat contact ID here. I think it's somewhere around 1,000 these days. But everything else remains the same though. Just indicate down here maybe that the chat was dead when you answered it. That's it. That's pretty easy to do. It gets more complicated when you're actually speaking to somebody. So I'm going to go back to phone call as my media type and select a standard option here. The main objective with these intake forms is to complete every field that appears in front of you. So you notice here that when I selected contact type, another field appeared below it, so I have to fill this out. If I leave this blank, then I'm not completing an intake form. And it's important that every form be filled out, because when we're reporting on this finally at the end of the year, if there's a bunch of missing data, which there will be, because of the way these forms have been filled out over this season, it's going to be more difficult to report out like solid data to our funders. But we still have a good 2.5, 3 weeks left of the season to make up for some of the data that we lost. So just try to remember that. If another field appears below the one you just filled out, you need to fill the field that just appeared out. So here I'm going to say yes, they're a MyFreeTaxes client, and I'm just going to select their first-time client just to open up the rest of the fields on this form. The next common mistake that we're noticing still, after bringing it to people's attention a few times throughout the season, is that when you're submitting or completing the client info section, for the client zip code, you always want to put it up in this field up here, because if you do that, it's going to fill out the rest of the location fields. If I just put my zip code here, all it's going to do is fill out that one field, and that's incomplete. We need to know the client's city, their county, and their state. You could certainly get that from them by asking them, but why bother if filling out this field is going to complete all those fields for you? Let's say that you misheard the client. They actually live in 44115. I could just select that and it'll fill out everything. Or if I typed in the complete wrong 5 numbers and I wanted to put this instead, then it's going to do everything for me. So it's just better to use this up here than any of these fields down here. Going over to the client demographics, one thing I want to reiterate again that we tried to get through to you before is that you should never be assuming any of these answers. It's totally fine to collect as many of these data fields as you can conversationally. And if you look at the order that these are listed here, they're listed in easiest to obtain to hardest to obtain. So referral source, I mean, that's something you can slip into a conversation at any point. Just say, by the way, how did you find out about us? Filing status, again, that's something that is really easy to get from the taxpayer as you're assisting them on taxes or making a VITA appointment for them. Sorry, giving them information about VITA appointments. Gender, you never ever want to ask them. Just answer this question based on the information that they provided, like their name. If you're not 100% certain what their gender is, then you can just select undetermined. Age is another question you can kind of ask conversationally as you go through the call. What I usually do is I try to get most of these questions conversationally, but then I'm never ever going to ask race in a conversational manner. So I always save that for the end, and I'll save 3 or 4 other questions to ask that caller when I get to the end of the call. And then at the end of the call, if I've assisted them, their issue is resolved, before they go, I say, hey, before you leave, would you mind answering a few demographic questions? It really helps us determine whether everybody who qualifies for this free service is using it. That statement is pretty much written right here. So if you can't remember to say that to somebody, you can always use this statement here to ask that question. You're free to make up your own statement, but just make sure that it makes sense. Otherwise, you don't want to ask these questions, and it's totally fine to not ask those questions. I mean, you shouldn't get in the habit of it, but I can understand why sometimes you just decide not to. In that situation, you would want to select did not ask as your field answer. Again, because your objective here is to complete all of these fields. It's better to select did not ask than to either make up an answer or to leave it blank. So please just remember to do that. Fill out these forms as truthfully as you possibly can. Even if you went through the entire season without asking one demographic question, which would be horrible, but I'd rather that every single one of your intake forms showed that with a bunch of did not asks for your field answers than, African American 36 head of household answers that you had just made up to cover your tracks. Finally, the other major issue that I need to bring to everybody's attention is the client reasons for contact. Again, reiterating everything I said earlier, your objective when you get down to this section is to fill out every single field that appears in front of you. So a common issue that I've noticed on recent intake forms is, let's say somebody's calling for a Vitus site, and you select that, and then you're done. You save the form. Well, you didn't complete the intake form. If you notice here, you selected Vita referral, but another field appeared before it or after it. So you have to select whether you referred the caller or you didn't. If you select referred, then another one appears. Now we want to know if you referred the caller to either a Vita site or an AARP site or both. If I select Vita site, then now nothing else has appeared, so now I know that the intake form is complete. I just might want to put some notes in here like refer to 3 sites within 25 miles, something like that. Anything that just clarifies what happened with the call. Now, let's say this person, before being referred to a Vita site, they originally called for assistance with completing a 1099-R. There's the option to select multiple answers here. So I'm going to go to H&R Block Software Assistance, and now you can see another field has appeared. I need to fill this out before I save the form. I can't save it unless every single field that has triggered is completed. So what I'm doing here now is I'm looking for the 1099-R screen in the software. And these drop-down menus are, especially in the software assistance, they're organized just like how the software is. So first, these are the 4 main tabs. I'm going to go to Federal. And then the Federal option appears. I'm going to go to Income. Federal Income, it's the same as the income checklist at the end of, or in the middle of the Federal Income section. Retirement and Social Security is the name of that subsection. And then I select 1099-R. Nothing else has appeared, so now my intake form is complete. If you did submit your form and then you remembered that your caller did ask about something else, then you can always go and search for your intake form. If any of you don't have access to the client search option, let your supervisor know, and maybe I can change your security profile so you can find it. But otherwise, I wouldn't totally worry about it as long as you captured at least one of the reasons why they contacted you. One final thing I want to say about these intake forms isn't really related to the form itself, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. And I commented about on that last calibration email I sent out last week. When on the front end of your call, what you want to do is in your greeting, you just want to say, "Thank you for calling the helpline. My name is so and so. How can I help you?" You don't want to ask for the caller's first name and zip code until you've given them the chance to tell you why they called, and you've conveyed to them that you understand why they called. And then you can insert your willingness to help statement, say, I understand what you're calling for. I can help you with that. Before we get started, could you provide me with your first name and your zip code? And then you can start filling out this section, and then you can also figure out whether they're a first-time caller. If they are, you're going to do the demographics. And since I mentioned it, one more thing here. First-time client, this category here, if you look at the little description above it, a first-time client is not somebody who's ever used the software before in their life. It's the first time they're contacting the helpline for assistance this year in 2017. If you assist somebody and you ask them, how did you hear about us? And they say, I used it last year. That doesn't make them a returning client. You would have to clarify whether they're calling us for the first time, because these demographics, they're not really pertaining to a taxpayer using the software. They're pertaining to a taxpayer using the software who's calling us for assistance. So you just want to make sure that you understand exactly whether or not this person is contacting us for the first time this year in 2017. If you ask them, they tell you that they used it last year, and then you say, oh, okay, well, is this the first time you're calling us this year? And they say, no, I called you yesterday. Then you can treat them as a returning client. But if they haven't called us at all this year, they're a first-time client, and you should ask them for the demographics, or try to collect them conversationally and then ask a few of them at the very end of the call. If anybody needs clarification on anything I just covered here, you're free to shoot me an email or contact your supervisor. But just try to make these intake forms as complete as possible in the 3 weeks or so that we have left this season. Thanks.